What's up, guys? It's MamaDeadHead, and I'm back with a very special video that I feel 500 million people have asked for, which is why do I dislike Daryl? I wanted to do it with someone present, so it seemed more like a cohesive conversation versus me just like kind of ranting at a screen. So it just seems a bit better overall. So I have my great friend Jack here.
Howdy, how you doing? Hope everyone's doing well.
And he does amazing reactions, and he does gaming. He has a lot of awesome stuff. So I'm going to link everything that he has in my description down below so that you can go follow him on everything. Yes, I'm not used to doing this. I don't ever like promote myself. But yeah, down in the description will be all of Jack's everything. Highly recommend. Please go watch like his feeds. They're always a lot of fun and definitely make my day compared to some of the other crazy stuff you see on your timeline. So he's gonna be asking me questions, so it's gonna be mostly my opinions, and then after you get done watching this, you can go to his channel and watch all of his opinions on this. Or if you're coming from his channel, hi! Please don't click away just yet. Alright, so we both dislike Daryl Dixon. That wasn't even planned. That was perfect. So, I want to start off this conversation. I know that we considered bringing it on later, but I think it's really important to note to begin with that we dislike the character. We do not dislike Norman in any way, shape, or form. We definitely separate.
Says you. I'm kidding. He's fine.
No, we definitely separate, real life and fantasy TV show. It's not a documentary, although it would be kind of cool if it was.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so we definitely separate that. And if you're coming here because you really like Daryl and you're like taken back, like, whoa, like he's one of the main characters on the show, we don't mean it towards you either. This is just our opinions. I've always said that decorate your house in Daryl Dixon wallpaper. Just, I don't care. It's just not for me. It's just not for me. So we have some questions that we thought would, generate a good idea of like what's brought on this. So you want to take it away?
All right, so the first one that we are going to talk about is, when did you first start to dislike Daryl?
So, okay, when it came to the Beta and Daryl fight, I got a lot of comments. I got a lot of comments that were, how could you dislike a main character of a show? Which I understand. I totally understand where people are coming from. If you don't like the main character of a show, it's kind of like, that's a big portion of the show. So why? I don't understand. Unfortunately, I wish that I was reacting since the first season, but I started pretty late in the game. I know that we both started after, our dislike started, but I guess I should start with the way that you perceive characters is very much based on, like, how you grew up and your life story. And you guys see me, the way that I look. I'm very alternative, shaved head, dark eyeliner, the whole 9 yards. I've always been like this, and I grew up in a place that was very much predominantly people like Daryl. So, like, all camo, all the time, like, hunting, and it just wasn't my thing. And obviously I stuck out like a sore thumb, and people were definitely not shy when I was growing up. So I would get called out a lot and bullied and called names. So when Daryl was introduced and I see this country guy come out swinging, throwing squirrels, my first reaction wasn't even like, oh, haha, like, this is funny. It was like, Jesus, if I want to see this, I'll just, like, walk out my front door. Like, I don't want to watch a show for this. Like, this isn't my type of thing. I know that, like, looking back, kind of, like, objectively looking at it, throwing squirrels is, like, funny. But at the time, I'm like, come on. I have to deal with this all the time anyway. So when I see, like, a hot-headed redneck, not my type of character. So I mean, when someone asked, when did this start? Why did this start? I've never liked this character. So when you ask me, how could you dislike the main character of a show? I disliked a character from the start that just so happened to become the main character of a show over the course of all these seasons.
Yeah, and I feel like from a perspective of someone that doesn't know you or know that story, they wouldn't really understand. And like you've been saying, it just doesn't click.
Yeah.
And I won't go into a bunch of detail on it, but a good example of not being fond of a main character could be Breaking Bad. Towards the end, the main character starts to not really be a good guy.
Yeah.
Anymore. And so it's like, they may have started out kind of okay, but seeing them progressively become worse, at least in our opinions,
yeah,
makes it justified to dislike them in a way.
Yeah.
So like mine wasn't from day one, but mine was more, it like happened over time, I guess. But so since you never really liked him, could you see any redeeming qualities at least, or not really?
Well, it's a difficult question because I don't really see anything like extremely redeeming, because even the one thing that I might consider would be loyalty to the group, but at the same time, these past couple seasons, he's been adamantly going against everything that like the group was wanting to do, fighting Rick, and that doesn't just scream loyalty to me. It seems like somebody just like having a fit and like projecting, which I don't like in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter if I like the character or not. Like with Daryl, like Tara and Rosita, for example, I really like those characters, and you can actually see those in my reactions. I go like, oh my gosh, like Tara's one of my favorite characters, yeah. And then she started like siding with Daryl on some stuff, and I'm like, girl, why? And it just was like a decline. She got kind of back up towards the end, but now she's gone. Same with Rosita. She's on her way back up. Both of them were like,
she's what?
You know, Rosita. Same with Rosita. Rosita is kind of on the way back up.
Okay.
Because I did like her from the start. Then it got to a point where I was like, but it can work its way back up. But you can't really work your way back up if it was never up, if that makes sense. So I can't go back up and like Daryl if I never did from the start.
True. So I guess you touched on it a little bit with the loyalty and kind of going against, but out of everything that you dislike about him, what is it that you dislike the most? And I guess why?
What I dislike most is probably the hot-headedness and the split decisions that are almost always bad and negative, and some don't end up negative, but they could very well end up negative. Like, I think everyone had that Glenn moment when they're like, oh my god, like Negan just said, and, you know, I already dislike this character. Another really great example that I think is nearly exactly the same, only it didn't end up bad, was when he shot Dawn after she had shot Beth instinctively.
Hold on. When he shot who?
When he shot Dawn, the cop, after shooting Beth instinctively because she got stabbed, that could have ended up in bloodshed. It just was like luck of the draw that it was a person that they didn't like. If it was a person that they really liked, then that could have ended up really bad too.
Yeah.
And it's just like consistently making those types of like split decisions. Another one, this is so trivial, but let me explain. Morales.
You were mad that he did that too?
Okay, here's the thing. And my reaction, if my daughter had not been in that reaction, that would have been the one. That would have been the one. Okay, so that was around the time that they announced that a character from The Walking Dead was going to cross over into Fear. My entire theory was that based on where Fear was and how things could have gone, that it was going to be Morales to go into Fear. I dedicated so much time. I dedicated so much time to this theory, and I even had a panel at Walker Soccer Con Atlanta that year that was talking about theories of who the crossover character could be, and I talked at length, it's on my channel, about it being Morales because all of the facts lined up. And then, like, a couple weeks later, Morales shows back up, and, like, I'm pretty sure my reaction, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, like, after all this time, like, Morales, like, I've been so obsessed with this for, like, the past few months. And then Daryl. That was so frustrating. And another frustrating...
I felt the same way. Because he did ramble a bit when he was talking to Rick, but he did bring up valid points that in most situations, if it were reversed and Rick had the gun, not every time that Rick's been in that situation, but frequently Rick would have just pulled the trigger. Now there's one instance that sticks out to me a lot with Daryl, that he seemed to have a good sense of morality, even if it was maybe not for the best reason. But when they found the cops from Grady Memorial and he was fighting with one of them that like tried to push him into a walker to get bit, when Rick finally like broke the fight up and had the dude at gunpoint, like he was savage big with the beard and everything, and he was gonna just kill him right there. Daryl convinced him not to, even though it was for like to bargain with Grady Memorial. He still convinced Rick otherwise, but in most situations Rick probably would have just killed him, and Morales didn't. So that was why it kind of stuck with me. He didn't hit Rick, he didn't do anything, he was just talking.
Yeah, he was just talking.
Then Daryl didn't even try to talk, just came in and just capped him.
Yeah, and what really irks me about like the entire Savior's arc, I don't know, maybe I'm coming at this from a weird angle, but he seems to have a lot of like anger towards them when he is like an ideal candidate of if he fell in with Negan, he would have fell in with Negan. He fell in with the Claimers. I don't think that like, I think that killing Morales was just like much. So I do want to say one more negative event and then a positive from Daryl. So the one that recently I just absolutely cannot get over at all, and some people have found trivial, but I'm a mother. Carol entrusting Daryl to watch Henry. That's fine. I get that. But when you are entrusted to watch someone's child, do not use them in a plan. I don't care if it's what it's for, what community, you don't use a child in that way. Now, I'm thinking at this from a perspective of, my daughter's only like 3, but if she was 16 and she had a boyfriend and the boyfriend came over and she was like, hey mom, we're gonna go in my room and study, I'm gonna be like, cool, shut the door, have a good time, have a couple of hours. No, I wouldn't do that. Why? Because she's a teenager. And what do you think, like, the first thing when teenagers come to mind? Bad decisions. Anything, like, love-driven. They have very intense emotions. That's not, like, a bad thing, because I think that Henry was, like, a really good person. Like, he had a really great heart.
Oh, yeah.
But he's a teenager. Like, you have to guide them. You can't use them in a situation like that. Did Henry go out when he was not supposed to? Yeah, but Daryl didn't make him feel like he belonged, like, in any way, shape, or form. He was a kid, and I don't know, being used by someone that you're supposed to trust, like, with your life and show you the way, nah. No.
Especially after Carol praised him up and down as being, like, her ride or die, and that she's been able to trust him for so long, and then Daryl did sort of make him feel like he belonged, but in the wrongest way possible, by telling him that the only place that he belonged was right there in a cell. Like, it's not something you tell someone after their first mistake and you're locking them up for the night. Like,
well, I mean, listen, he made a mistake. The protocol for that was however long in a cell. Like, cool, I get it. But my thing is, like, even if he got there, he made a mistake, had to stay in a cell, all right, kids got to learn a lesson. But when you have a whisperer in a cell right next to him, that should be a red flag. Not the best idea. And then second, Jesus died. I'm sorry, let the kid out. Like,
Yeah.
like this needs to be a time of like unity, not a time of like using a kid. I think it's just the fact that it's a kid. I think that if it would have not been a kid trusted to watch over, you know, someone trusts you to watch over, no. It's just like if my daughter was with someone, rational or not, if she got hurt, the first thing I'm going to be asking is, why were you not there? And if you were, why are you letting her do something that could hurt her? Like, but a positive, I will say, which this is kind of a double-edged sword right here because I'm not the biggest Carol fan either.
Oh, neither am I. We both know.
Yeah. One moment that I actually really liked Daryl, probably one of the only moments that I really liked Daryl, was when he seemed to be the only person to care about Sophia. He seemed to be the only person to care about Sophia. And then Carol cared for what seemed to be about 20 minutes. I was just like... And then he called her some names, and I was like, somebody said it. You're right here, man. I'll give you that. I will definitely give you that one.
That's one of the things I always go back to when people are talking about how they've always been there for each other and like never been mean to each other. And I mean, even the best of friends sometimes give each other flack.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's not something that most friendships go.
Well, yeah. See, this is a big thing. This is a big thing for me here. I grew up with an interesting past, and I know that Daryl grew up with an interesting past. But if I didn't have people to check me and be like, okay, you need to grow out of this, then, I mean, likely I would be acting in a irrational manner, making the same mistakes over and over and over, and being like, why does this not have different outcomes? Well, there would have been nothing wrong, in my opinion, with the Maggie and Daryl like confrontation in that basement. There would have been nothing wrong if she said, listen, Daryl, I know you would never want Glenn to die in a million years, but you need to check your behavior. I don't blame you, but you need to sort through your stuff so stuff like this doesn't happen again. There would have been nothing wrong with that because he's made the same thing over and over and over. Irrational decision. It didn't work out. Oh my gosh. Imagine that for the 15th time. It's too much. You gotta learn from your mistakes, and it doesn't seem like he ever does.
Yeah. The way that she reacted in the show seemed way, way, way too timid. Because, like, comparing it to the comics,
oh yeah,
Rick just closes his eyes and just kind of lets it happen, and she gets so pissed after they leave that she beats the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And then so much so that Carl pulls a gun on her, and Sophia then has to tackle Carl and bite him or something along those lines because she thought that Carl was going to shoot her mom, and it was just a whole
it's an ordeal.
mess. Yeah. But then you notice the guilt from Rick because when she stops, he asks her why she stopped. So I feel like there should have been some sort of maybe not conflict, but there should have been some more tension and animosity between them rather than him just avoiding her and not talking to her.
And then when they finally do, she's like, "It's fine."
Yeah, like that.
No. I mean, even irrationally, grief can make you do crazy things. Like, I don't think anyone would have blamed her if, let's just say, circumstances were different. Daryl had stayed in the lineup, and then Maggie would have had that moment with Daryl. I don't think that anybody would have been mad at that. And I don't understand why he can't have, like, a check moment like that, like somebody checking him. I think the closest that we've came to that are the two things that I can think of are Henry going, like, you are an asshole. Like, you are. And then King Ezekiel being like, we need some time. Like, those have been and those aren't even bad ones. I don't even think those are like...
No. And people blew up online about Zeke and him. And that irritated the hell out of me because they took it completely the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like, if you were in that situation,
Oh, I would
And
have been way worse if that was me in that situation. Especially, I'm just saying, I don't know if it's out that he used Henry as a pawn in this little game, but if I knew that my child was used as a pawn, whew, no, absolutely not. Like, even not knowing that, I would have, like, confronted him, like, what were you doing? Like, what could have caused this? Like, why would my son even be on the radar for someone like the Whisperers? Like, why is this a thing? I don't know. Yeah, and I feel really bad for Zeke. We all know that I love King
seems like
Ezekiel.
we're some of the only ones that do.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah.
I know I've read some of the comics, and have you read some of them? And if you have, does any of the dislike come from how much of the story has been changed or altered to specifically accommodate Daryl?
Yes, I've read all the comics. I love the comics. I wish that you could see my shelf. I have many of them.
I can sub it. I have the
I see
compendiums.
those.
Do you have the compendiums too, or just the?
I don't have the compendiums. I have some of the smaller books. I have Here's Negan. I have the covers. I have a few things.
I just recently got Here's Negan as well, actually.
Yay! But yes, I have read it. Um, I think it's important to say when I started watching The Walking Dead to answer this question. I want to say, I might get my years mixed up here, but like Thanksgiving of 2014.
Thanksgiving of 2014?
Yeah. It was somewhere around the first episode that I watched live was Beth's death. We binged everything on Netflix. We were living in Japan at the time. My husband was in the military, and we invited over a bunch of his, or he invited over a bunch of his friends. I made a big dinner, and one of them put on The Walking Dead. So we started watching it Thanksgiving Day of that year, and we binged it until we were at what was live at the time, which was the death of Beth. So when that aired, that's all I had seen of The Walking Dead was Netflix, and then we bought the episodes, and then I joined all the online groups because Facebook was like really big at that time. I joined all those groups. I joined everything I could, all the forums, read all the comics up to date. So partly yes, but I disliked him in the show before even knowing of the comics. So the start of it would have still been the same, but yeah, it probably did heighten it a little bit because it feels like the addition of him specifically has taken a group survival story and made it more of like a, hey, look at these three characters story type thing.
I feel that, especially as of recently. It's definitely felt like that with the 2 or 3 people that are the main focus, and that's it. I mean, obviously, we could spend hours talking about every amazing storyline and moment in the comics that has been robbed of its original character and given to specifically fit Daryl, like specifically Ty. There were a lot of bonding moments with Rick that characters had, like Tyrese and Abraham and other characters
And Glenn.
that seemed a lot, and Glenn, that seemed a lot closer to Rick in the comics than they were allowed to be in the show. And I mean, it's not to say that they weren't still close to him in the show, but Abraham always seemed more like just a comrade rather than part of the family with him, because him and
definitely.
Abraham were at odds in the church and like almost fought a couple times. Same with Glenn and Abe. Abe always felt sort of like an outsider, but like they're just kind of a military head. Didn't really feel super close to part of the family until like mid-season 6 with when he went out with Daryl and Sasha and he started connecting with Sasha. But
I can agree with that.
The claimers thing, I know that went down a little differently in the comics. It wasn't really the same deal, and there was no Daryl, so there was no like person in the other group, whatever.
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that the you're my brother kind of scene bonding moment was with Abe, wasn't it?
What?
Because Tyrese was the one that was killed by the governor at the prison.
Yeah.
And so he didn't even get to go that far. But I know that and like the rocket launcher too, I know that wasn't necessarily, I don't think that was like straight off the pages of the comics, but that was one thing that stuck out to me in that
he
Abe
literally almost dies to get it.
Yeah,
and then Daryl gets to
like,
use
we
it.
don't see him tell Daryl about it. Like, you'll never guess what I found. Like, nothing like that. Daryl is just,
and he never even gets to use it.
Fights the guy off. Like, understandable. He fends one guy off on his own. Like, I don't put that past him. He's not a weak survivor. He's can take one guy out. But the fact that then he knew about it or saw it or whatever and just got to use it and more than once at that.
Yeah, like not even just like I might could give like the one off with like all the savior gang that they encountered, but they went back to Alexandria and he still didn't get to use it and he almost died for it. And you know that if the roles were reversed and Daryl found it and then somebody else got to use it, it would have been a big thing.
Oh, absolutely. Or put it in just context with Daryl in general. Like seeing how pissed people were when like Dwight took his bike and his crossbow and used his crossbow, like even though it was a very different situation and he killed somebody with it, and that's a whole other thing that I'll go into when I'm talking about reasons that I dislike him. But we could move on to the stands if you want, for at least for a bit. I know we can talk a very long time about stands. But what do you think of the hardcore Daryl stands, as you put it, ones that would still be okay with him if he like threw a baby out of a car window or something? And does it increase your level of hatred for Daryl when you interact or have to deal with these over the top stands?
You know, at a point it did make me hate the character more, because if I'm the type of person, obviously look at me, I'm alternative, I'm very defiant, so if you tell me something, I'm gonna want to do the opposite. So if you're like forcing me to like a character, no, I'm gonna dislike this character even more. But I'm kind of at a point in my life where like when I see it, it just makes me laugh at how trivial it is, and it kind of just it fuels me in like a positive way to just keep putting my opinion out there, because I know that there are people out there that dislike this character that were like me at the beginning, that were just scared to say it because you're going to get attacked. And nobody should get attacked over a fictional character. It's a fiction. Now, this is coming from someone that when I did my reaction to the Beta and Daryl fight, I had somebody tell me that because I did not like Daryl, I did not deserve to be a mother and I needed to kill myself. That's a comment that I got on that video because I was rooting for Beta and not Daryl. In real life, I shouldn't be a mother and I should go commit suicide because I don't like Daryl Dixon. That's extra. That's too much.
That's beyond extra. Like, it's one thing to like make fun of us for saying and doing stupid stuff, but like bringing outside things into it that aren't relating to our opinions on the show. Like if we say some stupid stuff, like if someone does something stupid and we call it out and someone's like, I don't like that you called that stupid, it's like, all right, but that is nothing to do with anything that was going on in that episode. They were just butthurt that you didn't root for their favorite character.
Yep. And I got told so many times to go kill myself after that video. It was insane. Like, I just don't understand.
I didn't get comments that far, but I got people that were definitely not happy that I was not rooting for Daryl and that I was basically calling him a bitch for that fight, and that I felt like Beta, in real life, he should have won that fight, and that the only reason Daryl won it is because he's the cash cow for the show. And I mean,
well,
again,
also
against Norman, but that became very evident after like season 4, because like season 1 through 3, he seemed like his own character still was like stolen from Dwight, because people really like Dwight in the comics, so they're like, hey, let's bring a character like this in early and kind of draw more people in. And then season 4, they started it out and you could just feel a different vibe from him, like when Patrick came up and was like, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Dixon," treating him like he was a celebrity, that's when it started going downhill. Like I didn't have as many instances with him that made me dislike him. Like things that he didn't irritate me as much, but you could tell they started writing him very differently from then on.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Dwight came in the comics after Daryl in the show.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something to Fear is when he was put in the comics, and that's 2012.
Okay. Well, I definitely feel like the concept of Dwight was probably thought of before Daryl, because Daryl wasn't the iconic Daryl that's on all the posters and everything until Dwight. And Dwight feels like a very unique character in and of himself in the comics, with the vest, the crossbow, that felt very him and natural, whereas Daryl seemed like they were trying to put that. So even though the show came before that, it felt more natural in the comics than the show. Like the show, he felt like one of the less realistic characters in the first season. He felt like he was just there for comic relief, because there and everyone's like really serious, and everyone is like a very like their own person. They seem like they have a lot of depth.
And Daryl's like, "Let me throw some squirrels."
Coming in, yeah, that's like that's kicking the walker and calling it names like disease bearing poxy bastard. Like he seemed to stick out like a sore thumb the first season, and then the second season, he seemed to fit in a little more, but I definitely noticed a difference in the way that he was compared to Dwight, but continue. Sorry.
Oh, but yeah, I was just saying, like, as far as, like, stands go and people, like, coming at me with, like, that type of energy, whenever, like, for example, about my Twitter feed. Whenever you go to my Twitter feed, like, what do you see?
Are you asking what do I normally see?
Yeah, what do you normally see on my Twitter feed?
Happy and positive things about either Ezekiel, Tyrese, Fear in general, Skidmark, or sometimes Henry. Yeah. Sometimes Athena. But, I mean, it's never usually anything super bad or paid with malice.
How often do you see me go to a Daryl Stan Twitter account and tell them that they're worthless for liking Daryl?
No. I mean, I feel it takes a lot in us not to do that. Do that.
That's the thing. I would never come at somebody for liking his character, because it's something that brings them joy and it's something that makes them happy. So I wouldn't want to take that away from them at all. That's their happiness. That's why I said at the beginning, like, decorate your house in Daryl wallpaper. I don't care. That's what makes you happy, do you? But that's not what makes me happy. So, like, don't try and force that on me. And I've had people say to me as well, like, well, Tyrese wasn't that great. I'm like, oh, well, that's great in your opinion. It's not my opinion. In my opinion, I love him. So, you know, I mean, I just think it's crazy to come at people like their real life because of a fictional character. That's just...
There's definitely a clear difference between people that are just, like, trolling and people that...
like, actually mean it. That actually mean it.
People that separate the show from real life. And then there's people that you're genuinely not sure if they can. And they seem like they're always coming out and saying like they're feeling attacked, or they're the ones doing the attacking on other people in the fandom. Like, and that even going into talks mentioning the words fandom and stans, like it already puts you in the mindset of people like being immersed in like the Walking Dead universe, and it becomes hard to then separate yourself from that when you're talking about it. But the people that can't separate themselves from it take everything that is said about it so seriously. So if you say something that doesn't align with what they think of characters that they like, they take it as a personal attack when it's really not like that at all, and they should be trying to distinguish between disliking something that is fictional and not actually a part of them. And even if it's something that's very important to you personally, everyone has characters like that have gotten them through things, whether it's a single quote or something that has helped them through stuff like that. You have to be able to distinguish between that character and like the things that they're saying. And I'm trying to think of a way to say this to make sense, but basically, if like just because something that they say or do has had such a strong effect on you, it doesn't make the fictional part of them a real part of you. And it feels like a lot of people have a very tough time making that distinction, or at least they come off like they're having a hard time making that distinction. Maybe they're not, but they don't show that very well.
Yeah, they certainly don't show that very well at all. Yeah. This is coming from someone whose favorite character in the AMC franchise The Walking Dead is Morgan. If I truly took everyone's opinions to heart, I would be dead. Literally, I would be dead with as much hate as Fear and Morgan have got. But I don't take it personally because it's not personal. It's not personal. Some people can try and make it personal with me liking Fear, but is that going to change me liking Fear? Nope. You can come and watch me be happy on my Fear the Walking Dead reactions. I'll just be happy watching it, and you can be miserable watching it. That's fine. I like it. And then also, I think it's an important thing to say that you can love a character, like, beyond anything. You can just adore a character, and they can do bad things. Your characters have faults, and you like them, and you can forgive them for it. I think that a lot of people started disliking Daryl with the whole Glenn thing that happened. And if you loved him before that, and you want to love him after, forgive the character for it. Build a bridge, get over it, that's fine. Like, that's perfectly fine to have a character that has faults. Every character makes mistakes. Like, that's fine. But don't come at somebody else if they point it out as a reason to not like a character.
Let's go with a fun one. If you could cross over another show and some of its characters into The Walking Dead, what show would you choose and why? Or, I guess, what show/characters would you choose?
Okay, so you said you hope we have the same one. I hope we have the same one, but I don't know if we're going to have the same one.
I'm going to try to keep a poker face.
Supernatural. I love That's a good poker face. I love Supernatural probably just as much, maybe more than The Walking Dead, and a lot of people don't know that because I try and keep reactions and, like, my fandom world separate from, like, family. So Supernatural is with Tony. So me and my husband watch Supernatural together. So, like, Sam, Dean...
Would you consider reactions for the final season?
I've considered it. I just don't know. I just don't know.
I'm really considering it because 15 years for a show is...
Yes, it's so fantastic. Oh my god, when, like, that, like, little time crunch when that was announced, like, 2 other shows said that they were ending, and then, like, Michonne announced that I was like, what's happening? My world is ending. But oh my goodness, yes, Sam and Dean, if I could, oh my god. Let me just tell you guys, you think that I love King Ezekiel and Morgan and all these people, and they have such, like, a nice, fond place in my heart, but literally nobody compares to Crowley. I love Crowley, and I relate to him on, like, such a level. As, like, a cuddly demon is how I was. Yes! Oh my goodness. I love Crowley so much. I'm gonna fangirl just thinking about Crowley. But yes, oh my gosh, Crowley. Would that be kind of weird? John Winchester / Negan? Bella / Maggie?
I mean, they did get into alternate dimension stuff, so it's not that.
When they just pop in. And they had that, like, really cute, I say cute, and it's, like, not cute, but it's cute to me because you know the cameo, right? You know the little, yes. Dean just, like, picks up the barbed wire baseball bat. Dad loved this thing. Yes, so Supernatural 100%. I would love to see that.
Do you want me to talk about my thing as of, like, now, or do you want me to wait till we're doing my part of it?
Let's wait till yours. Let's keep it a
Okay.
secret. Let's keep it a secret. But yeah, crossover, Supernatural all day, every day. I love it.
I can see it. All right. So, would you like Daryl, or do you think you could if he had a significant other? Whether it was early on, long term, short term, now, in the future.
I think it depends on the person because I think that in a healthy relationship, you need to be like kind of opposites, which is a really big reason why I do not think that Carol and Daryl should ever get together because they both have the whole they have the whole like something goes wrong, I'm gonna be like go off and be like miserable alone. And if they were together, that mentality wouldn't really change. It would just be the same. They need someone to check them. Now, while I do not like Carol, I think that King Ezekiel, my favorite character alive right now, was a great match for her because he was like, check that, leave that at the door. You're not going to be acting like that with me. Like, I literally have a king persona, not going to work with me. Nice try. And I think that check is nice. So if it's someone that can check him, like in this, I guess I'll go with current timeline, then I think that could help him. Because, I mean, when you think about it, who has the most impact on you typically? Like your parents, significant other, child. Those are the people that can check you and you'll understand the check and be like, whoa, I am checked. Here I am. Maybe I need to rethink some things.
True. So I guess who out of the ladies left is your current favorite? And if you have a least favorite, well, I mean, it seems like Carol's your least favorite.
Carol's my least favorite. Yeah, Carol's my least favorite.
So what if one of your favorite female characters currently alive, or least favorite, got together with him?
Well,
do you feel like that could be beneficial or no?
Well,
it's kind of tying into things you've already said.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, this is kind of complicated in the current timeline because my favorite female is Michonne and my favorite male is King Ezekiel, and I'm one of the only people that when that kiss happened in the trailer, I was like, King finally got his queen, yes. But I know that it's gonna be short lived. It's likely not like a full on relationship, and I know the type of person that Rick is, and I know the type of person that Ezekiel is, and if something were to come up that where Rick is alive, he would be like, go. Like, now. You need to go find him. Like, and if they were in a series, if, I'm looking over here because my big cutouts right here, if she got, yeah. You want me to bring him in?
I mean, sure, why not? Have him in the background, be there for you. Oh my god, yes. Here, turn it a time. There you go. Now there's no glare.
Oh no, is it gonna bend? Oh no, don't.
It doesn't have a back?
Athena's been trying to hug Shiva.
Oh.
Oh no, it's not gonna work. Okay, let's put him. There we go. He can stay right there. He can be in the corner. But yeah, and then Rick is of course the type of person that, Rick raised Judith. So, even if Michonne was like, the entire time you were gone, I was with King Ezekiel and it was amazing. He would be like, I'm glad you're with me now. Like, I'm glad you're back. Like, he's such a good guy. Come on. They're both really good guys. Yeah. So I don't think that for a second, if like Rick were to resurface, that there would be any hesitation on like anything. But going on the female front, if I'm being real, the only characters that I really dislike are like Daryl and Carol. There are some that I'm maybe not like the biggest. Yeah, there are some that I'm like not a huge fan of, but for the most part, I really like everybody else. And I think that the ladies deserve better than Daryl, but I think that currently, I think that Connie is actually a good match. And the reason I think that she's a good match is because she will like I've said a few times in this video, she will absolutely check him. She's already did it because the one time when they went out together, he was hesitant. He was like, no. And she's like, I'm already going, so, like, are you coming with me? Type vibe. And I like the fact that there is this barrier with her being deaf because it's actually making him not, like, grunt and, like, barely say things. He has to, like, up and out, like, he has to enunciate so she can, like, recognize what he's going for. And I think that...
Or learn sign.
Either. I think either is a great way. I think that it would break him out of whatever, things that just kind of irk me, which is the not talking like a normal human type thing. And come on, I live in North Carolina. It's a very country place. I'm not gonna knock anybody's accent because I know I have a bit of one myself, even though I try not to have one. But I'm not like talking like this. I'm not like this.
Never come back here again. I'll kill you.
Yeah, like not like that. I think Connie deserves better. But if it makes him a bit, like, more, or a bit less insufferable, then I guess okay.
So, basically, if he was forced to have a significant other, you feel like she would probably be the best current fit, and because of the reasons you said that she would check him and not let him just be as disconnected as he is, or, I don't want to say unresponsive, because he's responsive, it's just not clear.
Yeah. Like, I would love to see Daryl make a terrible decision, and I would love to see a very angry signing Connie.
Oh, yes.
Just, like, cussing him out in sign language.
Or a push or a slap.
Yeah, like, come on, get your shit together. Like, I would love to see that. I think that would be pretty cool.
Like he's panicking and she's like,
come on, yeah. Her being deaf has really caused her to be aware of everything around her and be a very grounded and strong person. And with someone that just, like, acts, like, on a whim with every single thing that he does, I think that, like, she's pretty good. She's pretty good to be like, nah. How about no?
Yeah. So, I guess, is there anything at this point that, in your opinion, he could do that would redeem him to you, or at least start him down the path of being somewhat redeemed? Not necessarily saying you gotta start liking it, because that's a far ways away, but...
Yeah, I think it's really hard to go, like, 9 seasons not liking someone, and then, like, wow, I suddenly like them. I think that'd be super hard. I almost want to... This might be, like, a cop-out answer, and you can call me out if it's a cop-out answer, but he would have to change so much to me to be redeemed that I don't think it would be fair to his normal fan base. I think he would have to change so much that he wouldn't be the character that he is now that so many people like. And like I said, I don't really want to take away, like, everyone's happiness. I mean, would I cheer and, like, have a party if he died? Yes. But I don't really like other people being unhappy. I know. Dumb answer, but, like...
Yet I feel like a lot of us go back and rewatch some of the comps with some of the worst comps specifically for that reason, but it's not just to see other people suffering, it's so that we can suffer with them.
Yeah.
We want to suffer.
Suffer with them.
But going back to secretly just, like, watch people suffer at something that we were like, probably it's not as... We probably wouldn't be doing that. But I don't think that's necessarily a cop-out. I get that. I understand that. So it's more so that, like, it would just seem so out of character for him to change all of the things that you feel he would need to change for you to not even necessarily like him, but just move from dislike to neutral.
Yeah.
There's often characters on the show that haven't done enough to where I'll like them, but also haven't done anything to make me hate them.
Yeah, I have a few like that.
Thanks, that helps. Like, there were some of the Kingdom fighters that we lost in the early season 8 that, like, we'd had a couple scenes with them, and it was like, I don't dislike them by any means, but they're not like Jerry level to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's people that are there, like, Daniel, I think.
Daniel,
mainly.
yeah, Daniel.
I didn't love him like I love Jerry, but there was
Yeah.
I had no reason to hate him by any means. But we just didn't have enough of him. Whereas Daryl, you almost have too much of him that's made you dislike him. That there's, even if all of the things that you disliked or that could be changed were changed, it would just feel so unnatural.
Yeah.
Of a progression, or if it did happen, it would have to happen over many, many seasons.
Yeah, it would probably, it would have, if it was like naturally, it would have to happen over a lot of seasons. I can't just imagine him just acting like a completely different person like this season. And you also have to take into account that, like, I like a vast amount of characters, but I do lean more towards complex and villain type characters because I just find them a bit easier to like. So if you have a good guy, he does good guy things. If you have a villain, he does bad things. If a villain does good things, you're like, oh, okay, I'll take it. Weird, I'll take it though. But if a bad guy, or if a good guy does bad guy things, you're like, come on. What are you doing? You're a good guy. So it's kind of easier to be on this level versus like always wondering, why are you consistently making like these really bad choices when you're supposed to be team family? And also, I'm the type of person that, come on, King Ezekiel, Strand, what do these people have in common? They command attention in a room. When they're talking, you're like, what is he gonna say? Like Strand, come on. You're like, what is he gonna say? Who is he gonna try and finesse now? So my type of characters are like big and out, or like can command attention. Like, I love Morgan, and one of the big Morgan scenes that I can recall, like when I think of like amazing, like award-winning, when I think of amazing award-winning acting, I'm thinking of when he goes to confront Richard on the cantaloupe. And Richard has this 5-minute monologue, and Morgan doesn't say a single word. But who are you focused on that entire time? Richard spills his entire life story to you in 5 minutes, and you're still like, is Morgan gonna kill him right there? Like, his eyes, like, oh my god. So that's the type of acting I like, which Daryl has not had at all. And if it's like a tender moment, it's like he just pushed Rick down a hole. And now they're going to have a conversation because they're stuck in a hole. So, I mean, It's just not the type of character. And even Crowley. I just said I'm a Crowley fangirl. He is like the epitome of like, oh my gosh. He's like Strand. Him and Strand are a fair amount alike. I like anti-heroes. Anti-heroes have a special place in my heart. Because I can kind of relate.
I guess, is there anything else about him that you, or whether it's him or the, like, stepping back and looking at the show rather than being immersive and like thinking of him like a real person as like a character in the show, like thinking about the way that he's been intentionally written or anything like that you feel like you haven't talked about that you feel you want to give your thoughts on?
Yeah, actually, I think that they are painting him. I mean, granted, they don't have much of a choice. Well, they do, but they're not. Okay, let me get my thoughts together on that one. In season 10, it seems like, now I haven't seen the first episode. It is Thursday, Friday morning now. They seem to paint him as a leader, and he is not a leader, and they're painting Carol as a leader, and she's not a leader. When they have a great leader that they're painting as not a leader right now, which understandably Grief can do like a lot of things, but if you have a leader of a community and a lot of leaders are leaving the show, you need to keep the leaders that you have, or at least promote someone that is a believable leader. Now, I don't mean this as any disrespect to this character at all. I just come from the front of Daryl is a good right-hand man. He fits as a right-hand man. There is nothing wrong with being a right-hand man. Because let me tell you how much I adore John Dory. Because he is perfect. But he is not a leader. No, he is a right-hand man, like through and through. That is like the definition of a right-hand man. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're painting a character that, like, can't even talk clearly as a leader. I kind of have an issue with that. And even, like, Jerry, I think Jerry would be a fantastic leader of a community. I think he would be great. He's very, like, up and out and positive. He's more of, like, maybe a right hand, but that's believable for me. I can see him, like, growing into that. I can see Aaron growing into being a fantastic leader. Like, there are so many, like, potential good leaders. There are so many potential good leaders, and I feel that they're just not being used. And being, like, placed with, look at these two characters.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's it.
I don't want to comment too much on it because since I have seen the premiere, there's some things that you're saying that I can agree with and that are corroborated in the premiere, and then there's some other things that you might be wrong on or surprised on. So
I hope, like,
I'm looking forward.
I do want to say that if I'm wrong on anything, please, for the love of God, take my beautiful, underrated Aaron and make this man a leader. Because it is not fair that, okay, he is one of the only characters, I can go on for another hour about this, but I will make it short and sweet and to the point. Aaron was one of the only people in Alexandria that was down from the start. He was outside the walls, he knew what it was like, and he would be down and he would fight with you from the start of entering Alexandria, which is, like, so far in our past now. We're so far past meeting him. He deserves that spot. And if he doesn't get it, I'm going to take his mace hand. I'm just kidding. No, but yeah. If anyone...
Did you see the red carpet event?
Did I see the red carpet event? Yeah, I saw a little bit of it.
Okay. Do you remember what Ross was saying about Aaron?
I don't.
He basically said something kind of along the lines of sort of what you were saying, but tailored more toward that like you said, we've seen Aaron from the start since he was introduced as a very,
capable survivor.
Not necessarily calm, but calm, capable, level-headed survivor, and that this season he feels this is one of the first chunks of time where he's not like that anymore, and he's going to be a very different Aaron than we've seen. And he didn't specify whether it is good or bad, but that it's going to be a different side to him that we haven't seen before that feels almost... I don't want to say... He didn't say this, but I don't want to say reactionary, but it...
Please don't tell me he starts acting like Daryl. Please don't tell me he starts acting like Daryl.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it seems like... I would go more with adaptive, that he's changing the way that he is acting and thinking because of everything going on with the Whispers, because there's seeming to be a lot of paranoia going on with them.
Oh, yeah.
Because they made this border and we're like, okay, so what's going to happen? And as comic readers, we both know what's going to happen, but they don't know what's going to happen and they don't know when it's going to happen. But
yeah.
So we can understand, knowing from a comic perspective, there's a few very major moments that happen around this time that they're probably going to do some sort of variation of, if not right off the pages. And seeing a way that characters like him deal with it, because he's essentially Rick, or Comic Rick incarnate right now, with the beard.
Oh my god, he looks exactly like him. It's so great.
It's amazing. I love it.
I love it.
And so I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing that side of him, because I feel like Ross is one of those actors in the show that has phenomenal range and that hasn't really gotten a chance to use that range yet. Like JDM
yes.
and Michonne, or JDM and Denai, I guess, they're two examples of people that have used a very wide range on the show, from almost completely psychotic to almost just extremely sympathetic and compassionate, and then also sort of sick and twisted, and then like bloodthirsty and crazy.
Yeah.
Like last season, we saw almost every single possible side of Michonne that we've ever seen. Like we were getting parts of her like from like earlier seasons when she was like having the hallucinations or visions back with Mike, and I forgot the other guy's name, but
Terry.
her boyfriend and her brother, and like going crazy after the prison and everything. So we saw so many different sides of her, and I feel like Ross has absolutely more than enough capability to hit all of those different marks, but he has not gotten the material to do that. So I'm really hoping that they give him that. And since you're assuming that he's probably going to stay around Alexandria, right? Aaron?
I would hope so, yeah, because that's his home.
So I'm hoping that he has some more interactions with people that aren't, because he's always been very, down you guys to do whatever. Like if you guys like need me, like I'm a soldier, I'm here, I'm gonna help, whatever. Yeah. I'm hoping that there's some instances where he's rightfully speaking his mind and disagreeing with people, and we can tell that he's in the right, and the people that we may be agreeing with, like Daryl, like Michonne, maybe Carol, or people like that are suggesting things, and he's like, no, that's not, like... Yeah,
I would love to see that.
For a while about that. Yeah. I think Ross, in addition to a few of the other characters that haven't really gotten the spotlight a ton, could definitely kind of emerge and be
a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah.
And I love Aaron so much. He's one of those characters that just like, yeah, like right here, man, like he's a
very wholesome character.
He
left bottles of water in the road for people he never met, and that was the first time we saw him on the show.
And then when he finally was able to meet with his husband, who was hurt for the first time, and like you saw that emotion and just everything with those two, because I think that those two were adorable. And then Eric's passing and seeing the way that Aaron handled it and seeing him with a baby, he's one of those people that like I would go to bat for, because it's kind of like, just from like a show point, and I know this seems kind of silly, but it's like, he's so good and he's so wholesome. Give this man some good moments. Why are you stiffing him on those good moments? Because he deserves them. He's so good. Like, why does like his stories end in bad? Why do his stories end in bad? He got an arm. Oh my god. It's just like so much bad, and he's so good. Like, why don't these good characters ever get like...
Jerry's a good example of that. We felt the exact same way with him for so long, and now he found his lady. He has a family. He's got a bunch of little munchkins running around.
They're so cute.
Great. I know, and I feel like people also make the argument that we're making for Aaron right now about Carol and Daryl, and again, we could go into very long discussions about why we feel like they're valid or not valid points. But
yeah,
I definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Or like, played out in a circle over and over and over and over and over. Maybe it's time to end the circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this was a great discussion. I had a lot of fun. I think this was certainly a lot better than me just sitting here and being like, here are the reasons that I dislike Daryl Dixon, without coming across like crazy. So it was amazing talking to you, and I'm excited for yours. I'm mostly excited to see who you would cross over into the Walking Dead universe. So yeah, that's going to be all for this video. Again, I want to tell everyone, make sure you go in my description, follow everything of Jax, because he's amazing and wonderful, and he sat here and did this conversation with me that's so long, and it's so early in the morning.
I'm a night owl anyway. It's not that big of a deal.
We both are.
Sun isn't coming up yet. We're fine.
It might here soon. But yeah, oh yeah, I'm an hour later than you.
Oh, that's right. It's almost 4 there.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
No, it's okay. I'm a mom. When do I sleep? No, but really, guys, I do want to just say this is nothing against Norman Reedus or Melissa or or anything of that nature. I don't have any issue with them. I'm pretty sure I follow both of them on social media. I don't know how much they post, because I mainly pay attention to the ones that I love a lot, like Karen David, because she's a sweetheart. But, yeah, I don't mean this as any, like, bad blood to anyone. I mean, if you like this character, please go on liking this character. The only thing I really ask is that you respect people that have a different opinion. Because if you come to my channel and you want to have a discussion about Daryl, have a discussion with me. I'm definitely open to that. But, like, don't attack me over it. That's just a bit much. And that really goes for anyone. If you're watching this and you're a Morgan stan or King Ezekiel stan, don't attack other people, because it just, overwhelmingly, I think I'll just go ahead and say that the Daryl stans are an overwhelming majority. So don't stoop to that level of attacking people, because it just makes it worse. The fire on fire is never good. Fire on fire is never good. I know that it might be frustrating, but if someone's at the point of attacking somebody else, sometimes it's best to just leave it alone, because chances are you're not going to change that mindset. Just, like, let them be on their own page, being, you know, miserable to themselves. And eventually, they'll learn. I mean, I can't say that back when I was a teenager, I didn't have some, like, arguments over social media, but you gotta grow out of it. They'll grow out of it. It's just a fact of life. Or be miserable all the time. You know, take your pick. But yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys with what I always say, which is think positive thoughts and send positive vibes. Bye, guys.